You wish to study in Canada, but you're afraid that your application will get refused because Government of Canada has imposed strict capping of 150,000 students for the year 2026. If that is a worry that you have, it's a realistic worry. But there are ways to improve your chances of getting approval on a study permit application for Canada, and that is exactly what we are going to discuss in today's video. Stay tuned. Welcome back. My name is Shariq. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant practicing through Shariq Immigration since 2018 and an experienced international student counselor. For about 12 years, I've worked for universities in Canada and Australia, and now through my company, Shariq Global, I do consulting for students looking at studying in Canada and other countries. In today's video, we're going to talk how you can improve your chances of getting approval on a Canadian study permit application. Now, first up, let's understand the capping. So the capping that is there for 150,000 students for the year 2026 does not apply if you are applying for a master's degree or a PhD degree in a public university in Canada. And if it's a master's, it has to be a 16 months master's or longer. So the good thing is that if you're a master's student going into a public university, your chances of approval are already high. Probably that is the kind of student that the Canadian system wants to attract, because these people come with experience, good education, and they are able to, once they finish their degree, they're able to find a pathway towards PR. They don't become a burden on the system. They will be able to contribute. So if you have a bachelor's degree and you have a decent GPA, applying for a master's degree of at least 16 months or more in a public institution is your first step towards having high chances of approval. If somebody says to you that go for a diploma in a college or something of that sort, until and unless that's a very specialized diploma that you're doing in a public college in Canada, don't listen to them. Try and apply for a master's of 16 months or more. Now, the capping actually applies on those who are going to apply for a bachelor's degree. What is very clear is that Government of Canada has put up these restrictions because a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people in last few years entered Canada on a study permit where their qualification was already very high. They had experience, their age was above mid-30s as well, but they were coming into one-year certificates or diplomas in almost unknown colleges across Canada. Now, these people, once they graduated, they did not have the profile to go on and look for good jobs or to be able to find PR pathways. So what is very important now is that the selection of the institution in Canada is your first and probably the foremost factor that will impact success of your study permit application. So my piece of advice is look for relevant programs. If you have a background in certain field, apply for a degree program which is relevant. Do not change unnecessarily just because you're getting low fee or because that's the admission that you're getting. Don't make that mistake. Secondly, applying into good institutions, public institutions is going to benefit. Canada by large is the public higher education system, but when it comes to colleges, there is a number of institutions which are private institutions. I'm by no means not against private institutions, but you have to be very careful. And most of the universities are public universities, but then there are private universities as well. It is very, very important that you try and get admitted into a public institution, because the quality of education delivery, the general regulation the educational framework under which they operate, public institutions are much better compared with private institutions. So if you're getting into a public institution, the visa officer is going to have the confidence that first, your admission is done strictly on the basis of academics. Secondly, you're going for quality education, regardless of the location of the institution or the brand name. And that is going to improve your chances of approval. Now, then comes a very important aspect, which is financials. What Canada is now looking at is the fact that those who come to Canada are able to graduate, and the expectation is that they've had enough value addition that either they are able to find their permanent residency pathway in Canada. But see, that's not guaranteed. That's not a right, that's a privilege. So if you are not able to find a permanent residency pathway in Canada and you stay there for 1 year or 2 year or 3 year on your PGWP, you should have had good enough education, good enough value addition that you would be fine going back to your home country and practicing in the profession that you want to practice. So it is very important that in your study permit application, you are easily able to communicate two important things: your financial standing, so that it doesn't become obvious that if you don't find a job in Canada and you return back, the difference in earning potential is going to be so huge that you'll never consider that. Okay. And secondly, there should be strong enough employment economic prospects for you in your country of origin or country of residence outside of Canada. So very important to provide evidence that once you complete your studies, how will that help you become a better professional, and what sort of job prospects objectively, not just that you want to become an architect and you'll become a top architect and you'll return back with a fancy degree from some top school in Canada. No. What sort of roles are available? What qualifications are required for that? What is the starting salary? And in 3 to 4 years, what sort of salary or remuneration can you expect once you're back with a degree from Canada? This will become very important. So I'll do a recap. Number 1, try and get into public sector institutions. Number 2, keep relevance from your previous academics or professional life. Number 3, have your financials as best presented as it can be. Take a little more time. Don't rush into applying for a Canadian study permit at the earliest. Rather, take a few months, shape up things, bring them in the right format, because sometimes in some parts of the world where there's a cash economy, a lot of things are not documented. So bring them in the right shape. And most importantly, provide evidence that what sort of job prospects are you looking at on completion of your degree, and then on return to your home country, your country of residence or country of origin outside of Canada. If you're able to present this well, you have a very strong chance of getting a Canadian study permit in 2026. And keep in mind, those who will get Canadian study permits granted in years to come now, especially the undergraduate folks, they'll get their Canadian study permit approved in 2026 and they'll be graduating in 2030. With these restrictions, people entering Canada are going to be a smaller number, much better quality. Your chances of getting permanent residency in Canada on completion of your studies are very, very high. This whole mess that is there right now, a lot of temporary residents on ground, is going to be cleared in next 2 to 3 years. So you'll have great opportunities of becoming a Canadian permanent resident and then a citizen if you get your study permit approved in next 2 to 3 years for a public institution. If you have any questions or queries, feel free to comment. And if you like the video, do follow us. For consulting opportunities, you can find our contact details and we are more than happy to help you in finding the right Canadian institution, getting admitted into it, and then applying for your Canadian study permit. I'll see you soon in another video. Bye-bye.